Todd Blanche's nomination to be Attorney General is on life support. Two key Republican senators say they are not ready to support him unless they get ironclad written assurances from the White House that President Trump's so-called anti-weaponization fund is dead, along with the deal he made with the IRS to avoid tax audits. But moments ago, President Trump posted that he's not making any deals. Maybe the biggest sticking point, I know you just came from Capitol Hill, is the deal that the president and his lawyers made with Todd Blanche and the IRS, that he wouldn't be responsible for any audits in the past. This is what John Cornyn just put on social media himself. POTUS is mistaken. He believes concerns about the provisions in his tax lawsuit settlement are limited to me and Senator Tillis.
This nomination is turning into a political disaster for Trump. John Cornyn and Tom Tillis are simply demanding written guarantees that the $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund is dead and that Trump, his family, and associates won't be shielded from future IRS audits. Blanche reportedly already made similar promises during his confirmation hearing. So why won't the White House put them in writing? If there's nothing to hide, this should be easy. Instead, the refusal only fuels suspicion, and Trump is now risking his own attorney general nominee rather than giving two Republican senators basic written assurances.
Quote, John Cornyn of Texas and Tom Tillis of North Carolina, both of whom I refuse to endorse and whose political careers have been ended by my action, are refusing to vote for this great nominee who will remain in any event as acting. I have no objection to temporarily withdrawing Todd's name if they do not do the right thing and putting him back after Cornyn and Tillis are out of office.
Trump's response makes this mess even worse. Instead of negotiating with two senators from his own party, he is basically saying, forget the deal, I'll just wait until you're gone. He's threatening to pull Blanche's nomination, keep him as acting attorney general, and bring him back next year after Cornyn and Tillis leave office. That doesn't look like leadership. It looks like an attempt to bulldoze around Republican senators who refuse to fall in line. Rather than answer their concerns, Trump is turning a confirmation fight into a loyalty test. Support my nominee on my terms, or I'll simply try to outlast you.
Cornyn and Tillis, their demands are two things Blanche himself agreed to in his confirmation hearing, but something or someone appears to be blocking Blanche from putting it in writing.
I thought we were pretty close to landing the plane last night, but this morning there's been some more complications. I think if this were just between me and Todd Blanche, we would have worked this out, but apparently he's getting some pushback from higher-ups at the White House.
I'm going to get straight to Manu Raju on Capitol Hill. Manu, let's translate that. If it's not Todd Blanche, he's talking about higher-ups at the White House. There's one guy we're talking about, and that's the president, right?
Yeah, it very well could be. Now, both Cornyn and Tom Tillis both were hesitant in directly blaming the president. They say they don't really know if the president's involved. Cornyn believes it's people in the White House themselves. He said he doesn't know if the president's involved. Tillis is blaming the president's advisors. And I actually just caught up with Senator Tillis about the president's suggestion that he may withdraw Todd Blanche and simply renominate him once both Tillis and Cornyn are gone come next January. And he basically said, go right ahead, Mr. President. And he also sharply criticized those around the president who he says are giving him bad advice.
My reaction is the president's getting bad advice. He should listen to Blanche and others who think if it's dead, it should be rendered completely dead.
What do you mean he's getting bad advice? I mean, this is the president making a decision.
To not do what Blanche said they were going to do. Whoever that person is giving the president bad advice. The only reason why we would move forward with this language is because that same advisor wants to bring it back to life at some point.
It's in the advisors, but it's the president.
This is where the chaos inside Trump's White House becomes impossible to ignore. Blanche apparently could have reached a deal with the senators, but someone higher up is blocking it. Tom Tillis says Trump is getting bad advice from the people around him, and that may be the real problem. Instead of solving a simple dispute, Trump's own advisors appear to be turning it into a full-blown Republican civil war. When your own nominee is ready to compromise, but the White House keeps getting in the way, that is not strength. That is dysfunction at the highest level.
With the future of the Justice Department on the line, let's bring in senior investigative reporter Kara Lennick, MS Now senior White House reporter Vaughn Hilliard, MS Now senior congressional reporter Ali Vitale is on Capitol Hill, and MS Now legal analyst and former acting assistant AG for national security, Mary McCord. What a power panel. Vaughn, I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. The president would rather torpedo his own nominees' confirmation than put in writing that the so-called anti-weaponization fund is dead.
That's accurate. That's what's just happened. Those were the demands of John Cornyn and Tom Tillis, and the President of the United States and the Department of Justice were unwilling to affirm to them that they were willing to make that concession. We're talking about a $1.76 billion slush fund. They call it anti-weaponization fund, but essentially $1.76 billion that they would be able to dole out to people that they claim were unfairly treated by past Department of Justices and by past, you could even say, attorneys general, or, you could go down to Fulton County. You could talk about folks that were involved in the J6 insurrection. The list goes on. And the President of the United States wanted that slush fund. And back in May, the Department of Justice announced as part of its settlement with the IRS that they were going to get it. But the second part of it is that acting capacity, too. And I know everybody can go more into the technicalities of the law, but I was going back to some old notes here, Alicia, back in 2024, when he was running for president. Donald Trump Jr. was urging his dad to go the route of acting attorney general. He was very specific, saying that, quote, it would send that shot across the bow or the swamp. But also people like Mike Davis and Jeffrey Clark, they promoted the concept of using acting attorney generals, saying they would be more efficient. And Trump himself, he said, as you know, I like acting. It gives you greater flexibility. Back in 2019, Chad Wolf was his acting DHS secretary, ended up serving into 2021 despite the GAO and a court having found him to be serving unconstitutionally. And so we actually thought this was going to be happening sooner than later. But Donald Trump, seemingly now with Republican opposition up on Capitol Hill, he's turning to the exact tactic, using somebody in acting capacity, that he and his team and his legal allies around him during the 2024 campaign were setting him up to do. And it seems like he's just sort of saying, go out with normal standard form of governance. We're going to do this our own way.
Okay, so let's put a pin in that because I want to game out what that might actually look like. But I am not done yet, Ali Vitale, with the fact that just a few hours ago, you had senators on the Hill, Senator Cornyn in particular, trying almost to shield the president from being the one who had to take responsibility for this. Let's listen to what the senator told you and then talk about it on the other side.
Every time I think we're getting close to a resolution, somebody throws a wrench into the work. So we this morning it looks like we're no closer than we were before.
If they're not able to give you the narrower look at that IRS immunity deal,
this controversy gets uglier the deeper you look. Republican senators are demanding written guarantees that the $1.76 billion anti-weaponization fund is truly dead, and that the sweeping IRS protections tied to Trump's family are narrowed. Trump's answer is not compromise, it is defiance. He is openly signaling that he could pull Blanche's nomination, keep him as acting attorney general, and simply wait until his Republican critics are gone. That is the real danger here. Instead of winning Senate approval, the White House appears willing to exploit acting authority to sidestep political resistance and keep its preferred man in power anyway. If confirmation becomes optional whenever the president dislikes the Senate's answer, then the entire process starts to look less like oversight and more like an obstacle to be bypassed.
does that mean you're willing to vote no?
I think I am prepared to vote no, but I do think I owe it to my constituents and to Mr. Blanche to try to negotiate in good faith.
Have you talked to the president?
No.
No. Would a call from him help?
Yeah, he could fix this in a minute, but I don't know who he's listening to or whether he's motivated to do that.
Okay, one, I just got to say, Ali Vitale, I love seeing you in your natural habitat. Two, amazing to me that the senator says someone keeps throwing a wrench into this, tries to not point fingers at the president. Trump then goes on his own social media platforms and says, let them know it was me. What do you make of what's happening right now?
I actually thought it was interesting the way that Tillis began that interview saying, well, it's someone. And then he actually directly said the president is the person who could fix this. And so whether or not he thinks that it's Trump's lack of motivation to fix it or that he's listening to the wrong people, he did directly lay it at the feet of President Trump in a way that I had not heard previously, either from Cornyn or from Tillis. And so I do think that's notable because it directly draws the line for folks between the idea that this is a negotiation for Todd Blanche to ultimately shut down this settlement and then get the job of full-time attorney general. But it is very much something where Trump was always indirectly looming over it, and now Cornyn has directly attached him. And so I think that that's notable and instructive. A few minutes after talking to Senator Cornyn, I talked to Senator Tillis, and what both of them say is that the hangup right now is that apparently DOJ, whether it's Blanche or others negotiating around him, don't want to actually put this in writing. And of course, putting it in writing is the whole point, and it's so that someone else can't come back and revive it. Now, what Trump is doing is he's banking on partly what Vaughn is talking about, which is this idea that he can put people well outside the Senate confirmable mainstream into some of these cabinet positions if he just skips the process altogether. And certainly, given the ways that he's treated the Senate and the House over the course of the last year and a half, I could see us getting there pretty soon. At the same time, though, he's also banking on using the Senate calendar.
And that is the real scandal here. Trump is not just fighting two Republican senators, he is testing how far he can push the system when his own party refuses to obey. If the Senate says no, his answer appears to be, keep Blanche in power anyway, wait out the opposition, and try again later. That is not compromise. That is not accountability. That is a White House treating oversight like an inconvenience and loyalty like the only qualification that matters. And if even Republican senators are now drawing the line, Trump may have finally created a fight inside his own party that he cannot simply bully his way out of.